On this episode, I have Callie Willows, the co-founder of the Membership Guys, a membership academy that teaches its members how to create and run successful memberships. Now, Callie's on a mission to show entrepreneurs and small business owners how they can better leverage their time, their knowledge, their experience, their expertise, as well as increase their income by creating a successful membership site and online community. Now, I've been following the Membership Guys for a long time. In the midst of, we're creating a membership right now, and we're planning it for 2021, and we are looking to the Membership Guys. We're tuning into the podcast. We're trying to learn as much as possible from Callie, and this is why I want to have her on. And I know that this year has been challenging, and a lot of you guys might be thinking about starting memberships. So let's get Callie on the show, and let's ask her questions about creating and starting a membership and then retention as well. So Callie, thank you so much for jumping on this episode with me today.
It's great to be here. I'm really looking forward to talking with you.
Yeah, so let's start by talking about your entrepreneur journey. Way before the Membership Guys, you were a nutritional therapist and a naturopath, and you had your own clinic, offering one-on-one services. Now, share a little bit more about your journey, how you ended up with, the Membership Guys that you've created with your co-founder and partner, Mike Morrison.
Yeah, so it's been quite a journey, really. So originally, as you said, I kind of had a natural health practice. I also had an e-commerce business alongside that where I sold kind of supplements, herbal remedies and things. And that was kind of my first foray into the online space. So this was about 16 years ago now. And so I had the online e-commerce store, I had the natural health clinic, and my own health wasn't very good. I've got lupus, and I went through a really tough phase where I couldn't see clients anymore. And it came to that kind of moment where I had to rethink my business. And I didn't want to just shut everything down, but I needed to work in a different way. So I actually then started looking at, well, how can I kind of use the knowledge that I have to help people without having to go and see people face to face and spending a lot of time with clients. And that was kind of when I discovered membership sites. And so I already had the e-commerce side of the business, as I said, kind of the big online shop. And as part of that, I'd already actually started a subscription box where I was sending people kind of packs of nutrients every month. So I decided I'd set up this membership site that kind of gave people all the nutritional support and information alongside that. And so that's kind of what led me into memberships in the first place. But then I quickly discovered I loved the actual kind of behind the scenes of the membership model. And I had a lot of friends in the health and fitness industry who kind of started looking to me and saying, hey, can you help me do the same thing? Can you help me set up a membership site? Can you help me do this? And so I kind of gradually sort of transitioned into spending more and more time helping other people setting up their own membership sites, so their own kind of online training sites. And I loved it. So I eventually just kind of started doing that. So kind of I had a company called Digital Dog's Body where I was helping kind of mainly health and fitness people set up their membership sites and musicians as well. At the same time, my partner Mike had a kind of web and marketing agency. So he's a developer, he's a designer, he's clever like that, he's got lots of skills. And so it got to the point with my business where I was getting more and more complex membership products where I needed to get somebody else in to help. And so Mike was kind of a natural fit for that. And so we started to working together on a few of clients, and then we realized we worked really well together. So we then started an agency together, and this is a bit of a long story, sorry, but we then started the agency together, and initially we were focusing kind of on WordPress websites in general, but we were still getting mainly membership sites because that was kind of where I'd been working, and kind of gradually I kind of got Mike interested in kind of that whole, they were a lot more intricate than normal websites. Mm-hmm. And so we were kind of niched down and down and down until we were solely focusing on helping membership site owners. But then we reached that point again where with any client business, you've only got so many hours, you've only got so many people you can help and things like that. And we were getting more and more people coming to us. And so this was about 6-7 years ago now. We were getting more and more people coming to us who wanted help with a membership site, but either couldn't afford our agency fees or just needed it done on a timescale that we couldn't work with because we were fully booked. And so we started looking for a resource we could send people to, and there just wasn't anything about memberships out at that time. Was kind of the more internet marketing scammy kind of just leaves a bad taste in your mouth kind of thing. And so we sort of sat down and we thought, well, let's create something. So that's kind of where Membership Academy was born, and we started the membership at that point. we'd been so focused on client work that we weren't an online business ourselves. So we didn't have an email list. We didn't have a big audience. We weren't kind of well-known names in the online space at all. So when we started the Membership Guys, we were essentially starting from zero. But kind of, we obviously had all that background between us, kind of over 25 years of kind of business experience that we brought into it. So we started off from zero with the Membership Guys and Membership Academy, and it's just grown from there over the last 5.5 years, really.
Wow. And one of the most common things that I see online when people talk about you guys, this is a membership for memberships. They are so smart. That's so smart. It is really smart. I mean, creating a membership for memberships. So how many members do you guys have right now in your academy?
We've got about 2,500, 2,800 members at the minute. So...
Wow, that's awesome. And can you kind of share how long did you guys take to reach that 6-figure mark for your business?
The 6-figure mark we reached in about, with annual run rate, about 12 to 18 months. The 7-figure mark took us about 3 years. So that 7-figure mark was after about 3.5 years.
That's awesome. Congratulations on that. That's difficult, to achieve. You mentioned that you guys were pretty much starting out from zero when you started your membership. So can you kind of walk me through, as much as you can possibly remember, this is a while back. So walk me through, how did you guys launch to zero audience and, of course, getting your first few members joining the membership?
Well, the first thing that we did was we started, as soon as we realized we were going to create the academy, we started building an email list. So we kind of created an opt-in. We did all of the usual things, set up a wait list, which is one of the first things we always tell everybody to do. And we then kind of, actually, as we were working on the membership site, we started blogging, we started podcasting on memberships. And then what we did in the run-up to the launch was we did a 30-day free challenge. So we did a 30-day build your membership site challenge with an exercise a day. And so that was really how we grew the list, and we launched on the back of that. And so when we launched, we had about, neither of us remember very well, but it was about 350 to 500 people on the list, less than 500 anyway, when we launched. And initially we still had the agency, so we were quite happy for the academy to grow slowly. We weren't really expecting this to be a full-time job, really. We kind of went into it thinking we'll give it a year and then we'll see how it's going and what we want to do with the agency. But it took off much quicker than we expected. So after about 3 months, we already started winding down that client work and just moving fully into the academy.
I've got a couple of questions for you from that. So how long were you guys creating content for, trying to get and build your list before you actually launched? And did you guys launch at a special price? Was it a lower ticket price and then eventually raise the price up? Like, kind of share a little bit more details over there.
Yeah, so with the actual launch, so we had that issue that, and I'll be completely honest here, and we talked about this not long ago on our 5-year anniversary podcast ourselves, but when we first had the idea for the academy, it took us about 6 months before we actually got serious about it. We kind of went back and forth, like a lot of our members do, about, well, do I actually do this? Should I do course instead? What, should I do this? So we had about 6 months where we were half in, kind of doing bits and pieces, but not really kind of, this is what we're doing. Once we made that decision that actually, no, we need to focus on this, we need to do this, it was about 3 months from kind of making that decision and launching. So I think that was kind of April, and we launched in August, or May and August, something like that. So the first thing we did was set up a Facebook group to kind of build our audience alongside our email list. And as I said, we did that 30-day challenge. And on the back of that, we had a special launch price for 2 weeks. So that was kind of a discounted price. It was $29 or $290 annual. And that was for 2 weeks. Then we went up to $39 and went from there. We stayed at about $39 for a year, and then we moved up to $49, and we've been there for 4 years now.
So you earlier mentioned that you had 250, 300 people signing up for your membership when you first launched. That's a huge number. I know a lot of membership site owners who, when they first launch, they probably only get one person or 5 people or 10 people. And that's kind of on the lower side. So I don't know, but in your experience with your students, do you often get people who only get like the single digit numbers when they first launch, even though they've done all that initial build up to kind of soft launch it?
Yeah, and just to go back to the numbers there, because I want this to be kind of accurate for people, we had about just under 500 on our list. We got about 150 people in the first 2 months of the membership. And then I think we were at about 400 to 500 members by the end of the first 3-4 months, by the end of the year. So just to be transparent about that. And yeah, we have a lot of members who start small, and that's fine. So the one thing we always make sure kind of our members are aware of, or anybody wanting to start a membership is aware of, is that it is a numbers game. So if you've got 100 people on your email list, you're not going to get 100 members out of the gate. You know, you need to be realistic about how many members you're going to get. And so we do have, you know, a lot of our members who, we just had a member this morning who was celebrating hitting her 40 member goal for her launch, you know, and that's awesome. It's a great start. And once you've got those first members, it becomes more and more easy to kind of keep growing that as well.
Based on your experience, is it better to do a smaller, you know, closed beta launch and have like a small number of people than to jump right in and try to get as many people as possible into a new membership?
I would say it really depends on you, your audience, and the kind of membership. So if this is a brand new audience to you, so this is a kind of a market that you're not known in, or maybe you're only just building your email list, then kind of doing that closed beta can work really well. If you've already got a large audience, you've been running your business for ages, you've already sold other products, then you're far more likely to just do a big launch and kind of get as many members in the doors as possible. So if you look at somebody like Amy Porterfield, when she launched her membership on the back of her course, it was open to the thousands of people that had already done her course, because, you know, why wouldn't she? But if you've got a small audience, then doing that kind of soft launch or a closed beta is a much easier way to get started, and that's also to familiarize yourself with running a membership as well.
Are there certain sales funnels or funnels for, you know, someone who is brand new to the idea of creating a membership and they don't have an audience that they can tap into? You kind of shared your 30-day challenge that you guys did. What I'm wondering is, you know, after training so many students, do you see like a certain sales funnel that has worked really well and it's easy to execute?
Sales funnel, not necessarily. So again, this can come down to your market a little bit. So we have members who do really well with a webinar-based funnel. We have members who do really well with a challenge. I would say challenges are probably the most consistent thing for a membership site. So I wouldn't recommend most people do a 30-day challenge, but something more like a 5 or a 10-day challenge can work really well as a funnel into a membership, because it gives people an experience of what being in a membership with you would be like. It gives you that content and community element that they would be getting in the membership. So that can work really well for not just a launch, but ongoing promotions of your membership as well. And in general, honestly, the best thing, we're big proponents of an open membership model. You know, there's places where a closed membership model works well. But for us, you know, the Academy, you can join anytime. That's the way we want to keep it, and that's what the majority of our members do. And absolutely, hands down, more important than a sales funnel is consistent content marketing. So having kind of this marketing flywheel where you're just consistently putting out good content is number one, the best way to get members.
Yeah, I want to dive into that, because, you know, what happens after you launch and you did the first launch, and how do you get clients consistently, members consistently? And what I'm hearing is content marketing has worked really well for you guys. Now, content marketing is huge. Do you guys have your favorite way of course, I know you have a podcast, but do you guys have a favorite way of doing content marketing? Do you see, you know, certain platforms that's been great for your students as well?
Yeah, so I would say podcasting is definitely, for us, our number one driver of membership growth. For a lot of our members, it's either podcast or video, again, depending on their niche. So we have a lot of people who are on in music or art-based niches, and things like video and Instagram work brilliantly for them. I would say kind of the ones where the channels where people can get to know you a little bit, so things like podcasting and video will convert better than just blogs. So we used to do blogs and podcasts, and very quickly we realized the podcast was what was bringing people to us, so we stopped kind of blogging and just focused on the podcast. In terms of social channels, then again, it really does. It always sounds like a cop-out answer, because it's that it depends. But because memberships have so varied in the audience and the market and things like that, you know, we've got members who do brilliantly just on Instagram, just from sharing their members' results. And then we've got others who do well with Facebook groups, with LinkedIn, all different kinds of things. But I would say that probably if I had to pick one channel where most people get success, it is Facebook still, really.
Do you ever get students who come to you and say, Callie, I've been, you know, creating content online, trying to get members coming in. It's just not working after a while. You know, I'm just not bringing people. What can I do now? Do you get people like this?
Yeah, definitely, because there is no kind of one size fits all approach. And I think usually when we see that's the case, if kind of you're building up an audience, but they're not converting to your membership, there's some kind of mismatch there. Either you've not quite got what your potential members are looking for, so your messaging isn't right, or maybe it's just not the right membership for them. It's not what they're actually looking for, which is why one of the things that we advocate so much is getting feedback from your audience and actually finding out what they want, what they need, what the problems they have are, so you can create something that is going to be something that they can't see your content and not think, I want more of that. This is what I need to help me go to the next level with whatever it is.
What's your favorite way of getting feedback from your audience? Do you ask them in a social post? Do you send out a Survey Monkey form, a Google form? Like, what's your favorite way?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of surveys still. So, anonymous surveys are great because people feel a bit freer to kind of give you that feedback. And we always say there's 3 audiences that you should be surveying. You need to survey your members once you've got them. You need to survey the people that have left your membership, and you need to survey your audience that haven't joined as well. So you kind of need those 3 different audiences that you're surveying. And that feedback is going to allow you to kind of create something even better.
Now, one thing I've noticed with memberships is they invite guest trainers to come in, they invite guest speakers to come in and train their audience. Now, having never created a membership, I am wondering, like, what is the incentive? Like, how do you make it sound great for that person to come in and kind of motivate them to give 1 hour of their time to come in and train your audience? Like, are there tips on that? Like, what do you say to them? How do you pitch it?
This is a tricky one because, again, it's that if it's a B2B market, it's usually a lot easier because most people in B2B, so again, you're in online business, so you'll know that a lot of people that you have contacts with, they might want to get in front of your audience. They might want to be able to showcase their experience, their training, and get that exposure. But for somebody in a B2C market, so a hobby market, for example, or a music market or a craft market, then there's not necessarily that. So it's usually done more on the basis of kind of building up their own profile, or it's done for a fee. So actually a lot of the time with kind of more things, like we have a lot of clients in the music industry, and a lot of the time there they have people come in, create full courses for them, and they pay them for that. It's done as an exchange. But for B2B, most of the time there's not normally money involved. It's normally kind of a quid pro quo kind of thing. I'll come into your membership, you come into mine, or just for the exposure and things like that. So usually with B2B as well, you'll have people kind of asking you if they can do trainings once you're established, and not necessarily you kind of going to people and saying, can you do this for me? Which I think always feels a little bit odd, especially initially.
I absolutely agree. It's just kind of like starting a new podcast, isn't it? When you are a brand new podcast and it's always like, can you please come on my podcast? And now it's like, can we please come on your podcast? So it always works this way.
And actually in terms of getting guest trainers, it's very similar to how you would approach somebody about getting on a podcast or something. It's just that if you're asking them to do something the equivalent of a webinar, for example, for your members, it is that similar approach to getting people on a podcast. It's just that it's going to be behind closed doors and it's that bit more exclusive. And so you might also decide there that actually, because it is that bit more exclusive, they can offer a freebie, or they can kind of give an offer to your members and that kind of thing as well.
Now, I want to shift the conversation to your members' retention, right? This is a topic that is so important for membership site owners. So for those of us who are not in the membership space, like, what is the average retention rate? How long on average do members usually stay for before they leave?
Yeah, so it's interesting because you always hear that one of the issues with memberships is churn. But actually for a well-created membership site, that shouldn't be the major issue at all. So we always recommend that our members are aiming for below 10% churn, 10% of members leaving each month. And usually if you can get that below 5, then that's awesome. And that's what a lot of our members manage to achieve. But even with a 10% churn rate, that means your members are staying on average 10 months, say. So if you're charging $49 a month, that's $490 that member is then paying you, essentially. So that's your lifetime value. But for ourselves, for a lot of our members, people stay for years as opposed to months. So kind of the myth of the 3-month membership, because a lot of people think, well, people only stay for 3 months, but that actually came from porn. So like, not to get too graphic, but the initial research on membership subscriptions, which said that people only stay for 3 months, it was based on adult sites. And so we actually did a big survey last year and kind of looked into kind of all of these stats and things, and we have that available kind of as a free, not even any email needed. You can go and download this and see kind of all the most recent stats. But yeah, we tell people to aim for 10% and below, and that way you're going to grow really effectively.
What are you guys doing to retain your members? You said you've got members staying on forever, but as a membership about membership, I would assume that they would leave once they have their membership site up and running.
Well, no, because the thing with a membership site is getting the membership up and running is actually, in hindsight, the easy part. So you get to that launch and that's great, but then you've got to run the thing. Then you've got to improve your marketing. Then you've got to improve your retention. And so there's always things to learn with a membership site. There's new things to try. There's kind of new tools to use and things like that. So we've had members that have been with us for 5 years now, and they're growing and growing and growing. And, you know, some people don't need that, but for other people, they like using us as a case study. So they see what we do, they see how we've evolved over the years, and then they take that into their own membership. And we're also providing new training all the time. So kind of we do bi-monthly masterclasses that are on kind of latest topics. So like we've just done one on holiday promotions that you can run and things like that. So there's always new things to learn and challenges, and also just that support element of being around other membership site owners. So community can be such a huge part in keeping people around on a membership, even if they're not really using your content anymore.
Yeah, I've got to agree. Sometimes I've joined a membership once just to be a part of the community, not so much to learn stuff. Can you kind of share some tips on retention? Like, do you do gamifications or point systems? Do you recommend anything like those?
Yes, retention in terms of gamification can be great, but it does depend on your audience. For us, we focus on kind of just providing as much support as we can for our members. So we're very available in our community. If somebody asks a question, then we're likely to answer it personally, as opposed to, you know, it's not somebody on our team or something like that. We're in there every day. You know, so your community plays a big part in that retention in terms of giving people support, answering their questions, not just you, but your other members as well. So cultivating that community where people are sharing and helping each other is really important. Little things like actually making sure that your members know what's going on in the membership. So one of the biggest things that people kind of don't think to do is actually email their members. So a weekly email telling your members, this is what's happened this week, this is the new content you've got access to, this is what's going on in the community, this is the calls that are coming up, and actually just kind of reminding members that you exist and what the benefits of the membership are and what they can get access to when they log in. So gamification can be great as an add-on. So we have things like a leaderboard and we have a member of the month and all that kind of thing, but it's really kind of to amplify smaller, less sexy things like actually just keeping in touch with your members, providing a good experience, and actually giving them support and access to you as well.
What would you say are some of the biggest and common mistakes that you see your students make when it comes to membership retention?
When it comes specifically to retention, making it difficult to leave. I know that sounds counterintuitive, but we're big fans of make it easy for your members to leave. The decision to cancel should be difficult, but not the process. So you don't want somebody who's made up their mind to cancel to have to jump through hoops, because actually that's just going to leave them with a bad taste in their mouth when they go. Whereas actually, if you make the experience easy and nice for them, they're more likely to come back later. So we have about 25 to 30% of our members return to us within 6 months after they've left, kind of thing, because we make it easy. We kind of support them in that decision. So you want to make the decision to cancel difficult and not the process. And that means that your members will come back later, and you can do win-back campaigns and things like that. But in terms of actually kind of big mistakes in retention is not listening to their members. It comes back to that member feedback again. So actually sometimes we get so in love with the idea of something that we want to do in our membership that we think is awesome. But actually your members are telling you something different. Maybe they're not turning up to this call, or they're not watching the training, or they're not doing X, Y, Z, but you carry on regardless because it's what you want to do. It's what you think's needed. Whereas actually this is, again, if you listen to the feedback from your members and you kind of tweak things, and a lot of the time it makes it easier for you as well. So a lot of the time when you get member feedback, actually something that you're working quite hard on, it might be that like, well, actually we only want that every couple of months, or we only want X, Y, Z instead. And so kind of not listening to member feedback and just kind of being really bullheaded and sticking with what you want to do regardless is probably one of the biggest mistakes I would say.
Earlier mentioning leadership board and try gamifying it a little bit, make it more interesting. Then you were mentioning about getting feedback. What are some of these tools that you're using within your membership site to support all these things?
Yeah, so we use our tech stack is WordPress with MemberPress for the kind of membership side of things, and we use a forum called IP Board or Envision Community for the forum side of things, and that links with WordPress, so it's a seamless, not multiple logins and things like that. And that is a more traditional forum, but it has things like leaderboards, points, reputation, and things like that all built in. So we kind of keep that side of things as simple as possible. We also then use some tools like Intercom to kind of give a more personal service to members with kind of on-site messaging and things like that. And we use active campaigns, so we use a lot of tagging to try and personalize the service as well. And we have things like a recommendation engine. So if a member comes in who's already got a membership site, one of the first things that they'll be asked to do is kind of let us know what you want to work on, and they'll choose that, and we'll then send them to the content that's best for them. So we kind of, our base tech setup is quite simple, but then we've customized it a lot to kind of add in more of those custom elements that allow us to personalize things as much as possible. Because going back to your question before about good ways for retention, then adding that personal element in, things like personal welcome videos, recommendations, and all that kind of stuff is one of the best things for retention, rather than people just feeling like another number.
Can I get you to share a student's success story, like one of your students' success story that has left the biggest impact, in you, like in terms of their success, their marketing, and what they've achieved with their membership site?
Oh, can I have two?
Go ahead.
Yeah, so one I would say is a lady called Jodie, who she has a membership site for kind of early tutors. So she's in Australia, and this is a membership site that helps people with nurseries and things like that to kind of bring in more clients and serve their clients better. And she had great success. She was working with a closed model initially, and she kind of got up to about, I think, 500 members with the closed model. And she then decided to go evergreen and started working on evergreen webinars as part of her process. And so she's now got this evergreen membership site, which is thousands of members, doing really well. But most importantly, she's been able to retire her husband. So he's at home now looking after the kids, who are able to kind of all be there while she's working. And I just love that story because she's just doing what she loves. Her family are getting more time with her, with their dad, who was previously kind of had a job where he had to travel a lot, and he's now home. So I love that she's just kind of in the space of a couple of years been able to kind of retire her husband and have this great family life whilst working a lot less, essentially. And then the second one I would say is a long-term member of ours, John, who has a guitar site, blues guitar site, sorry. And he's been a long-term member, and he started off with DVDs and courses and things like that, moved into the membership model, and over time's kind of gone all in on the membership model. And he spent quite a bit of time kind of refining his marketing, working on his niche, kind of just building up how he's doing things, until this year he hit his 1,000 member goal, his 1,000 active member goal. And that was lovely to see because he's well known in our community. And so when he shared that he'd kind of hit that goal, like just the reaction from everybody was awesome to see. And it's lovely because, we've known John for ages. We've managed to meet him. He came to our event and things like that. And so just being able to see kind of that ongoing growth and progress from 250 members to 500 to 750 to 1,000 and kind of just the tweaks he's made to get to that point, it's just such an awesome thing to see.
Wow, that's impressive. And to wrap this up, I want to ask you this question: what is the 2021 plan for the membership guys?
So we are in a big process at the minute. We're actually this year expanding kind of the business in general. So we've just taken on 2 full-time employees. So we're growing the team that way. We've got another 3rd employee that we're kind of hiring for at the minute. So going into 2021, it's really a lot about refinement for us in terms of we're doing a big overhaul of the academy content and our roadmap, and we're just kind of going all in on kind of making our content as useful, as practical as it can be for everybody, and then providing again that ongoing content and support. And we're really upping the community side of things with like mastermind calls and all this kind of thing as well. So the next few months for us are really about just taking the academy even to the next level. So we're really happy with our growth as it is. As I said, we're 2,800 odd members now. So it's already a 7-figure business, but we're just wanting to continue growing that and helping as many people start memberships as possible. So, we have a really great rate of people starting memberships and growing memberships, but we want to improve that even more.
Wow. And I know you guys are going to achieve that because you guys are already leaving a huge mark in the marketing space, in the entrepreneurship space, and you guys are doing a lot for us. So all right, guys, if you want to learn more about Callie and the Membership Guys, you can go learn more at themembershipguys.com. So thank you guys so much for spending time with me and Callie today. Don't forget, you can find the show notes, the links, the resources, everything that we just talked about on our website at hackyouronlinebusiness.com. All right, Callie, thank you so much for taking time to come on the show today.
Thanks for having me.